go ahead and kind of get rolling here as people drop in. We had quite a few register actually for this one, um, so we'll give everybody some time. And welcome, first of all, the people that are here. If you are here, it's because you registered for the Double Your Revenue training, right? Now, this is not like other Double Your Revenue trainings that you have probably seen before. I know because I think I've seen them all. Between Dan and I, we have probably seen all of the free stuff floating around out there. And this is different. And it's different for a few reasons. So what we're going to do is break it down for you, but I want to introduce a good friend, just phenomenal human being, one of the most accomplished people you will ever meet. We're talking about coach to cornerman coach to Lance Armstrong, Tiger Woods, Bono from U2, multiple big-time CEOs and executives. We have Dr. Jeff Spencer here, and I'm going to give him the I would say the floor, but the camera in a moment, because what Dan and I are about to teach you is going to require what we call a paradigm shift. It's going to be a little bit different than anything that you've seen before. If you're in the marketing world, you're going to have to suspend some of your beliefs because the reality is if you keep doing what you've always done, you're going to keep getting what you get. And we see a lot of that in this world. So I want to introduce Jeff and let him speak a little bit about being aware of the shoulds, right? A lot of people say, well, I should raise my price. Well, I should spend more money on traffic. Well, I should hard sell these people. I should have a webinar. All these things, I'm going to ask you to suspend them. And then I'm going to ask Dr. Jeff Spencer to ask you to do the same because Jeff has been responsible for a whole bunch of people being stuck in the should and getting over that, overcoming that, and becoming world champions. Again, we're talking like 46 or 48 Olympic medals and world champions. And it all starts with being open to a new set of beliefs. So Jeff, I would love for you to just talk a little bit about how to suspend your beliefs and why it's so important to be open to what we are about to share with all of these wonderful business owners.
Well, thank you, Nick. I was hanging on every word that you spoke there, just the need for change. And I understand that the world is rapidly and dramatically changing right now. But I think just a really great place to start would be about the whole mythology of being able to continuously run at the front of the pack. We sit in just complete wonderment. Why is it always the same people that are always in the lead pack? And you look at them on paper and they may not be qualified because they weren't valedictorian or whatever, but somehow they know something about themselves and lives that the others don't. And in my opinion, when we look at this mythology, probably one of the greatest myths of all time is the fact that people succeed repeatedly because they just mow anything down in their path to get there. The steamroller technique, just kind of roll up your sleeves, and your mindset should be just nothing's going to get in my way, and I'm just going to mow everything down and I'm going to get there. And what I can honestly tell you is that if we look at the evidence of how well that works out, it doesn't work out very well at all, because it generally leads a tail of destruction 10 miles long behind it, where there's nothing but losers. And so when we really look and we kind of pull back the veil and we see what's really there, and I've had the good fortune of being kind of non-denominational in terms of who I work with. I mean, obviously with U2 behind stage, backstage with them, that's in the music industry, whether it's the Tour de France, I've been involved in 9 of those, or whether it's in the boardroom, locker room, it kind of like doesn't matter. This is like a universal truth, is that, trying harder doesn't give you the skills that's required to get to where you want to go predictably, consistently, and repeatedly. And the mythology here is that prolific achievers, they know that there's kind of 2 parts in their golden rule: is you do the homework and the test is easy. And the homework is where you're preparing to pursue to get the goal. And when we look at preparation, it's our best estimation about what it is that we're going to encounter when we go live ammo, when we actually put foot and step into the jungle itself. And knowing that in advance, one of the things that all prolific achievers do, or teams, is that they know at some point their preparation is going to face reality. And as soon as that faces reality, rather than trying to mow everything down, and willfully adhere to a plan that's become obsolete, they don't do that. They say, okay, let's take a look at what the playing field really is right now, and let's adjust what we're doing to accommodate the reality of what that playing field is. So they actually expect it. It's not a sign of bad planning. It's not a sign of poor leadership. It's a matter of principled and purposeful leadership rather than something that did not manifest as intended. And I want to be really, really, really clear on that. So, for example, when I did all those Tour de France's, we won 8. Win one, that's a miracle in and of itself. But to do 8 in a row, it's just like unheard of. And I can tell you that that was actually purposeful. It was by design. It was actually intentional. And what our secret weapon was how we thought about it. Because what we knew is that if we did what worked in the past, then we weren't going to be able to run at the front because the past had already come and gone. We had to adjust, and we had to build the team that could compete in the here and now, in the moment, which was a very fluid environment that was ever changing. And so with that being said, one thing that all prolific achievers do is that they always throw out their histories and their traditions. They recognize them with gratitude and appreciation, but they don't hold on to things that have become obsolete. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that anybody could do, is to believe that something that worked in the past was a current sign that it would work now, because that's not the way it works. The other side that I want to share with you that all prolific teams do that become dynasties is that in process, they stay mentally loose, meaning that they're going to have a very special type of focus in the process of moving towards their higher aspirations. I call that GOCUS, kind of a funny word for goal focus. And it's got 2 parts to it. It's got a hyper-focus side where you do hyper-focus on a pinpoint of focus to get action steps done to advance towards goal completion. I mean, for sure, that's got to be there. But then there's a second half to this, which is peripheral awareness, where in the field of gaze outside the cone of hyper-focus, there's an awareness of the playing field and what's going on around us, like situational awareness. And why this is relevant, that we always have part of our awareness tuned into that, is that this is where better options can show up. And this is also where blind sides that take us out of the game start to form. And if we could see blind sides forming in advance, then we can avoid them. And if we could see the better options show up, then we can change course to always stay on a course to get to a much bigger, faster than we could have ever intellectually conceived of. And I have to tell you that to do that goes against the grain, what most of the experts are saying out there. And it certainly goes against our human nature. Our human nature, that's kind of survival based, loves the idea of commitment to one thing and mowing everything down to get there. It doesn't like the idea of being able to read terrain and adjust as one goes. But yet that's the way that the prolific achievers always do it. And to me, that's the most important thing. So what that means is that when it comes to initiating things that are unorthodox, like asking us to stop in the middle of something that was pre-planned to the nth degree, and asking ourselves to change, the champions always stop and they listen. They never reject anything. They always stop and they listen. They look at the merits of what's being said. They look at the feasibility of it. Then they decide, and there's the secret word that comes into it. And that word is, are they courageous enough to put down what they may have put a lot of time and effort and expense into, to go with something better that they couldn't have conceived of prior? And I could tell you, absolutely yes. And that's what genius instinct is all about. And when we talk about courage, the definition of that is taking action despite your fear-based survival impulses. And when we're faced with change, our human nature kind of resists change because it's fearful of what may happen. But the reality of it is that what we really fear of being put down a cul-de-sac or a blind alley exponentially increases if we don't take seriously an opportunity that makes sense and is well-founded. And when I talk about courage, that's taking the first step to initiate that which has to go right to move into a vibrant and vital future based upon current reality. And that's literally how the prolific achievers do it. And that's very contrarian to the way most people are told that it is.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Jeff Spencer.
You're welcome.
Our hope today, I'm going to kick it over to Dan. Our hope today is to do exactly that and present something that maybe was not conceivable or has not been in front of you before. And I think you will see the way that it gets laid out. And once you see the math and you see the workbook and you really think about maybe the stuff that you've tried in the past that you maybe feel like you're married to now, may not be super efficient compared to some of the other options. So I'll kick it off, or I'll pass it over to Dan to talk about some of the myths. I know some people are really married to a few things that are making it more difficult for them to move forward. So I'll let Dan kind of cover the myths, the most common myths, and then show you how you can predictably, reliably double your revenue every 2 years, which may not sound like a lot with all the 10x going, but you'll see the math. And if you double your revenue every 2 years, it compounds pretty quickly. So Dan, I'll let you hit the myths.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Nick, for lining all that up. And where I always like to start is just the overarching notion that everything that we're doing needs to get us closer to the things that we actually want. Otherwise, what's the point? There's a reason why we got into business to begin with, and why not make sure that the actions that we're taking are getting us closer to what we want, rather than watering the weeds. If you're trying to grow a beautiful garden and all you're doing is watering the weeds, it's getting you further away from your actual intentions. So everything that we do is intended to kind of break the myths and realign you with getting you, again, closer to the things that you want. So with that, I'm going to pull up a screen share and get going. All right. So see my screen okay, Nick?
Yep, I got it.
Great. All right. So myth number one, and it's intentionally listed as number one, is that lead generation is the only way. I should have put only way in all caps. Only way to grow your business. We just need more leads. That's the answer. That's what we call the marketer frame, which is we're just stuck in this idea that marketing is the only element of business. When you say that out loud, it sounds crazy. How could marketing be the only aspect of business? We know intuitively that just isn't true. There's so much more to it in terms of retaining clients and delivering an appropriate amount of value and making sure that clients are raving fans of ours. So we know there's just a lot more than just lead gen. Intuitively, we know that. Yet, time and time again, what we find business owners stuck in is the marketer frame. I need more leads. Lead gen is the only way. Myth number two, you just have to raise your prices. It's somewhat, just to pick on a little bit of bro marketing out there, but bro, just double your price. Just double your prices. You're not charging enough. Double your prices, 10x your prices. That's the only way you're going to grow your business, is if you double, triple, quadruple your pricing. Again, we know that intuitively isn't the case, because we can find several examples of wildly successful businesses who aren't double, triple, quadrupling their prices overnight. Netflix, they get a huge amount of pushback when they raise their prices by $1 per month, right? Massive company. We can go through the list of Fortune 500 companies and Inc. 5000 businesses. How many of them, the way their lead strategy is to double, triple, quadruple their pricing overnight? Again, right? I would challenge us to find a lot of examples of that case of a business that is growing to a massive scale, and their overarching strategy was just to take their existing product or products or service and just double, triple, quadrupling their price. I would be interested to see how many you could come up with. And then myth number 3, ads, low ticket, high ticket, whatever the internet marketing crowd is pitching is the only strategy that works. So there is a binary, all or nothing sort of model that's out there, which is the solution, whoever is the one that's selling it to you, whatever their offer is, that's the only offer. That's the only offer that makes sense. If I'm someone who runs an ad agency, the only way to grow is through ads. If I sell a low ticket is the only way. If I sell high ticket is the only way. It's this very all or nothing sort of thinking. And again, we can come up with seemingly infinite number of scenarios of businesses that have become wildly successful in the sense that the business owner was getting closer to the things that they wanted, and they weren't necessarily running a lot of ads. They didn't necessarily have a low ticket or high ticket, right? We can find many, many examples that don't fit the mold of sort of this all or nothing thinking. I went to business school. I got case after case of all the different sort of permutations of what works. So intuitively, we know that the all or nothing sort of approach doesn't work. Yet oftentimes we find ourselves kind of sucked into it because we desperately want to get closer to the things that we want. We don't want to have financial anxiety. So we're trying to get more power and more certainty over our business. And so sometimes it's easy to get lured into one of these all or nothing traps around lead gen or price raising, one strategy, right? So with that, we built this tool that breaks down really the strategy for how you can double your business every 2 years. And it turns out there's more than one component to it. And it turns out that there are hundreds of potential strategies and that it's really just math, and there is a universal kind of truth here. So the universal truth is that, let's just start with current data. So we got to actually kind of compile and find out where we're at right now. Where, Google Maps doesn't work if you don't tell it your current location. So we always want to get to the final destination, but we're incredibly reluctant to actually identify our current location. So our current location is, in this case, is how many clients do we have? So we want to enter that in. And I've intentionally blocked out here a number of new clients, right? This is the lead gen and conversion rate. So more on that later. What is our current retention rate? How many of those clients stick around? What is our average transaction value? So how much do they spend when they buy from us? And how often do they purchase per year? So this is just math here at the bottom, which is taking 1,000 clients times 80% times $200 times 2. We get to 320,000. Nothing fancy that I'm doing here, but the universal truth is that if we break down our business into these buckets and we say we need to increase, we're going to increase the number of new clients by 3%. We're going to increase our retention rate year over year by 5%. We're going to raise our transaction value by 20%. And we're going to increase the number of times a client buys by 10%. We get to this number down below, 38%. And what the math says is that as long as this number down here is 38%, every year our business will double. So I can swap this to 5% and 3%. I can swap this from 10% to 20%. It doesn't matter, as long as this number down here is 38%. So what happens is that next year we add 30 clients. We've improved our retention rate to 84%. Our average transaction value is $240, not 5,000. We didn't add 5,000 new clients. We didn't expect them to buy 20 more times. It's just the combination of these got us from 320,000 to 456. Then a year later, we do the same thing. So we increase the number of clients by 3%. We increase our retention rate by 5%. Transaction value, 20%. Number of transactions by 10. And guess what? It doubles. And it turns out, if you keep extrapolating this out, it's slightly more than doubles every year. So all we need is for this to be 38%. So we don't have to. Lead generation is not the only way to grow your business, right? Because here's several other examples of that, right? It's not just lead gen, it's also retention rate. It's also transaction value. It's also number of transactions. Intuitively, we already know this, intuitively, but we got hyper-focused on the myths up above, that we just crank our prices, just deduce it down to some one universal strategy, and it's not the case. If you had $1 million business today, and every 2 years it doubles, 10 years from now, it's a $32 million business. Another 10 years after that, it's $1 billion business. Now that's not overnight. That's not, we're not 10Xing, but as Dr. Spencer has pointed out, and we're fortunate to have him as a resource in our community, he's pointed out that usually when in those moments when we're trying to 10X, right after that happens, we actually need to take a break. We can't 10X every year after year after year. And we know from the data from working with clients is that in the month that they have their highest revenue, so when they've sort of had this moment of euphoria, or maybe they've 10X'd, that in the months that follow, their cash flow plummets typically because of the decisions that they make at the peak because they weren't resting. So if you're going to try and 10X your business, you're probably going to be in a situation where you're going to have to get outside investor capital. You're going to have a board. You're going to give up a lot of control. Again, go look at the actual examples of companies that have grown to be billion-dollar businesses in a short period of time. They have venture capital. They have investors. They've given up a stake, and they've given up a lot of control over their business. That's fine. There's also very few of those. Fortune 500, not Fortune 5,000, right? There's a select amount of companies, very few that actually get to that point. And the reality is that you may, in fact, be getting further away from the things that you want. So the strategy is exactly that. It's a strategy. It's not just to increase our lead generation, that there are multiple components. There's 4 components to it. New clients, retention rate, average transaction value, number of transactions per client. We need that to add up to 38%.
Real quick, I want to highlight one of the things that we don't always consider when we're doing the strategy is certainty, uncertainty, power, degree of difficulty. Because we're looking at doubling revenue over 2 years. And Dan alluded to it when he said, well, what people are, a lot of the education out there, right, just to double your number of leads is an outrageous amount of risk. You might have to spend twice as much money, take on twice as more salespeople. Like there's, to double your sales, there's a huge risk and a lot of uncertainty. And that same goes for transaction value. If you want to raise your price, some people want to double your business, say double your price, but going from 500 to 1,000 or 200 to 400, there's a high degree of difficulty there. Right? If you've always sold it at 200, all of a sudden doubling price creates there's a lot of cognitive strain. There's a lot of uncertainty. And if you look at this method right here, there's no point where it requires an outrageous leap. There's not a huge risk being taken when you go from, hey, can we get 3% more clients, right? It doesn't require you to take a massive risk. To go from $200 to $240, you can add $100 worth of value and increase the price $40. Relatively simple, right? So there's a lot of people get stuck because they're trying to focus on one of these things, typically one of the myths, and that's actually a massive ask, and you're taking on a lot of risk if you just try to double one of these things. So the multiplicative effect allows you to take on less risks and make smaller adjustments that have less of a cost, and still get that end over end growth.
Yeah, a lot of it is the millionaire math, where you go, hey, you want $1 million company? All you need is 100 clients who pay you X amount. And they just show you only need a very few clients. You just need 10 clients who are going to pay you $100,000 a year. It's not that many clients, right? So they walk you through this millionaire math, and it seems like, oh yeah, I don't need that many clients. And the problem is that easier said than done. And so it looks good on paper. Yeah, I could just double my transactions, and then I only need a few more to get to 1 million, or double my price per ticket. Yeah, if I just double it, I don't need that many more clients. That's true. But then there is the reality. Where is the data that shows that you can actually do that? What is your offer? Does your offer actually align with what the consumer market wants? There's so many questions that we can dive into further, and we do in our programs, like revenue multiplication and cash flow engineering, where we provide all of the actual data and research behind how to actually sustainably grow your cash flow. All right, so if I were you, what I would do is I would go and I'd understand my current state. Where am I at? Clients, retention rate, transaction value, number of transactions per client. And then the question is, how do I allocate these 38 percentage points between these buckets? And so I would start with what's going to be highest leverage. So if you're struggling with lead gen, but you have, you know that you have loyal clients, it might be higher leverage for you to see if you can increase the amount of times they buy from you and slightly increase the transaction value. That might be the highest leverage thing for you. So rather than lead gen being the only option, now this opens the door for where do I really have some ace cards that I can play, that I can focus in on. And so we're going to allocate this 38 percentage points to the areas that are going to be highest leverage, where we can be the most effective. Let's not make this harder on ourselves than we have to. This is what Nick and I do for clients in our office days, where we sit down for half a day and we walk through their business and we're compiling, and they go, wow, I can't believe that Nick had an example where he got a client 100 sales in 24 hours. Like, I can't believe he got 100 sales for me. It's like, well, we just leveraged the assets that you already had in place. We're not trying to make this harder on ourselves. Let's get some momentum first. Let's play in the areas that we're strongest. So that's what these tabs down here that follow, right? So let's take a look at lead generation first. Well, we've compiled 63 strategies for you, potential strategies. So again, the myth that there's only one way to do it. You must do ads, you must do low ticket. Here's 63, okay? And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna go through this workbook, and you're gonna select the strategies that you think are gonna be highest leverage for you. So let's just say it's 9-word email and blog, okay? And then we're gonna go to conversion rate, and we're gonna say, accept all payments and build relationships. These are the strategies, okay? And then retention rate, we're gonna ask for feedback. Transaction value, okay, here's where we really think we can make the biggest impact. So we're gonna probably spend more time here. Add complementary products, articulate value, so we're picking these strategies. Now what's happening is that we have an action plan over here that's automatically populating, right? That's showing us here's what our action plan is, right? So we've got now the tasks of what we're going to focus on that are going to move the needle. This is going to be our action plan, where now we're going to build out the steps. What are the steps we're going to take to actually implement these? But again, it's not one lead generation strategy. It's not one conversion rate. We've got 64. We got 51 potential retention rate strategies, so on and so forth. So it's not one. There are many. We're going to pick what's going to be the highest leverage for us. Where do we already have some wind at our back? And we're going to focus there, rather than, and Nick calls it raising the floor, rather than trying to raise the ceiling. Is rather than always just trying to have more, what if we can raise the floor? Where do we already have some strengths that we can eliminate the downsides? So Nick, anything you want to add on to that? Here's our action plan that populates.
Yeah, just again, just to highlight, how much less friction there is when you can systematically identify the lowest hanging, so like raise the floor. Talk about all the time your average, which in this case would be like the money in your bank account, is somewhere between your best month and your worst month, right? The best month you ever had plus that month where you lost a bunch of money. By laying it out this way, we can identify the lowest common denominators here, like the lowest where the floor is. And it ends up being much easier if you go back to the revenue growth plan and you look at the percentages after you've compiled data. It's often much easier to pull some of these levers that you've been neglecting. You know, if you've been spending 3 years trying to drive leads, there's probably big gaping holes in your retention or your average number of purchases, stuff like that. So when you can lay it out like this and you see the math, it is so much simpler than perhaps whatever you've been married to being the solution for the last year, 2 years, 3 years, maybe last decade.
Yeah, we tend to be so focused on more revenue, and therefore I want more revenue, so I need more leads, and that's where the conversation kind of ends. And what we advocate is let's focus on our strong points. Let's eliminate our downside risks, and let's find the low-hanging fruit. Let's pick that up. Let's not make things so hard on ourselves. And so again, back here to the numbers. If we're awesome at lead gen, then maybe we can tweak it a little bit more. But if we struggle there, we can still get the outcomes that we want if we focus on some other elements that maybe we are stronger at. It's called playing your game. Let's play our game. Let's focus on where we're strongest. All right. Well, Nick, where do we take it from here?
So we'll do Q&A for anybody that's live in just a moment. We got something for you. Dan, if you make me host, I can show them what we have to help you out. That workbook, extremely valuable. I've tried myself to make some version of that, but I don't have the ability in sheets that Dan does. And so if you're here live, awesome. You just saw the training. You can have a replay of it and get your own copy of this workbook. Any updates we make to the workbook, so that we may add strategies, may take some away, nothing crazy there, may change some of the formulas. Dan tends to go back and just make things more and more awesome over time. And I'll throw in, since you mentioned it, the case study, how we actually used this framework to do 100 sales in 24 hours with somebody that came in and they paid $5,000 for an office day, and without doing any lead generation at all, made 100 sales in 24 hours, which is the most sales they've ever made. Okay, so go to cfeclass.com/multiply. You can get everything I just said. It's going to be $7. This one time, $7. You get the replay, you get the workbook, you get the case study. And here's what I want you to do. There's a little button right here. It's an upsell, little bump right there for $49. It'll be $49 a month to join our platinum. And what we're going to do for our platinum members is we're actually going to do this for our diamond members. Let platinum members have the replays, break down one strategy a week. So you see all these strategies. The question is, what does it mean? How do you do this? Where do I put it? All these questions that you have. We're going to break down one strategy a week, which means you're going to get 4 strategies or tactics per month. You get the trainings. We're going to deep dive on each strategy. A lot of them, full disclosure, what we like to do is we like to build it for ourselves and just let you watch. You can see how we're building it, where it's going, how we're thinking through it. I'll give you the templates and the examples. So if I write these emails for us, I'll give you the template. I'll remove the specific stuff, give you the template and examples. Any resources, workbooks, or worksheets that we come up with to apply these strategies and tactics, you'll get a copy. Plus, you'll get what is called a golden ticket, which means every quarter you can email in and say, hey, you keep talking about cash flow engineering. Can I please have it? Every quarter you can unlock one premium product. It just so happens that we come out with a new premium product just about once every quarter. The one you can't see here is Tax Optimization Roadmap, which we are building right now. cfeclass.com/multiply. All I want you to do is drop in there $7. You get the replay, you get the workbook, you get the case study. And then if you click that bump there, you're going to get upgraded to platinum, which means you'll get all of the recordings of all of the trainings, breaking down all of the tactics. You'll also get invited to the private community. So if you have any questions, you could drop into the private community. It's just a Facebook group, and see what other people are doing. And so cfeclass.com/multiply. Now, if you are live, I did a full disclosure. I did a short pause there because we're going to cut this off. Nobody else will ever see this part right here. If you want to workshop with us weekly, some people ask, what is the Diamond membership? Some people got grandfathered in without knowing it. This is basically what Diamond is. It is access to everything, including access to Dan and I to workshop weekly. Every Wednesday, you show up and say, hey, I wanted to do this strategy or tactic. How do I do it? Can you help me? Give me the language. Whatever you want to talk about, we're there. So if you want to workshop with us weekly, go to cfeclass.com/diamond. Okay. It's going to be $497 a month after this push. We said the next 10 that came in could have it at the current price. It will be $497 a month. The next 10 get an office day. So Dan mentioned an office day where we deep dive with you, break down your next steps, identify exactly what to do, and help you craft a 30, 60, 90-day plan. That's included. You'll get a ticket to the Seeking Certainty Summit. We don't have a date yet, but Dr. Jeff Spencer, Dan, me, a lot of our resources, a lot of our network, will spend a couple days with you, helping you gain certainty around getting closer to the things that matter to you. And right now, again, for the next 10, I think there's actually 8 spots left. You get the office day. You get access to me, Dan. Everything's unlocked. You don't have to wait for every quarter. Just everything gets unlocked. And there's actually 3 calls a week. Wednesdays are office days. Tuesdays and Thursdays are Q&A. So full access to all of our stuff as well as us and any of our network at the Seeking Certainty Summit. Jeff Spencer, who you were introduced to at the beginning, is a great friend, and we have access to him as well as a Diamond member. So cfeclass.com/diamond if you just want to go straight to workshopping with us. cfeclass.com/multiply if you just want your own copy of the worksheet, and get the order bump if you would like the replays of the trainings that we do breaking down the strategies. Any questions? Got one here in the Q&A. Drop them in the Q&A. Interested in how this links to the process of applying R3 and CFL principles. Should I pick the strategies that link with the starting at the end of the process I've done before lockdown? Yeah. So a question here from Jackie. If you have any questions, drop in the Q&A. The R3 and the CFL principles are less about which strategies and tactics and more about the way they are implemented, right? The things like make it remarkable, interject your personality, tease a little bit about what they're missing on the other side and stuff like that. So you use this workbook to identify what to focus on, and then you can use the R3 and CFL principles when you apply them. Let me know if that makes sense, Jackie. CFL is just customers for life framework for how to talk to people.
Jackie says yes, makes sense.
Cool.
What other questions do people have? Everything makes sense?
Yeah, any questions? Now is the time.
Jackie says I'll bring questions to Wednesday. Jackie's a Diamond member.
Yep. She knows how to get the best of us. We show up Wednesdays and it's the best because we don't have to pre-plan anything. We just help people solve problems.
Yeah, Wednesdays are certainly my favorite because it's kind of no holds bar. We're going over finance stuff. We're going over business strategy. We're going over marketing things. Sometimes we bring in friends, experts. And last week, I think we talked quite a bit about ads and the strategy we use, and the people who we know, what they're doing. Nick has a pretty sizable Rolodex, so we've got kind of the inside scoop on a lot of the actual data of what's really going on.
Millions. Fortunate to have partners and clients that run tens of millions of dollars in advertising. So happy to share what we see working, what not working.
Yeah, Darren asks, what do you want from us in preparation for an office day? I think ideally like a week before you're scheduled, you just let us know what are the major problems that you want to solve, or what is the biggest selfish ask that you have, and then we can figure out kind of what follow-up questions we would have from there.
Yep. Typically, I've done them in person, and I don't allow prep because I don't want to have any preconceived ideas. And we spend like 6 or 7 hours just compiling as much data as possible. And then it takes 20 minutes to come up with the plan. But with COVID and all that stuff and the remote aspect, then we do a little bit more prep just so we don't have to spend 7 hours staring at the screen. Wednesday calls are this time, Wednesday.
11 Pacific. Yeah, all our calls Monday through Friday are 11 Pacific.
You can. We typically don't record them because we like to get super personal, intimate. Dan and I share all kinds of stuff we hope nobody else ever sees. But if you do have a question in the member area, you can fill out a form and we will still reply, whether it be a Loom video, we may answer it live and record it. If it's something that would be beneficial to everybody, we might just build a training, specifically for you, but then share that training. So that's one of the things that makes Wednesdays cool, is that they're not recorded and shared. It allows us to really go deep and help. Jackie, the workbook is not in the member area. I'm debating whether or not to create a separate membership to keep it clean. Double your revenue kind of membership, so you can navigate it a little bit easier, but it will be by the end of the day, and I'll email it to all Diamond and Platinum members.
Any other questions?
Would you recommend an office day as soon as possible? I would recommend an office day as soon as I get to Seattle, which will either be the 1st or the 15th, depending on which home I decide. So,
so here in 10 to 25 days, Nick will be in Seattle, and I have a private office basically that's me, and soon to just be me and Nick, and we're building a studio. So basically we'll be moving our calls from the studio.
Yep. I wouldn't rush on the office day. I do have people, unless there's you need immediate clarity on something. I have people that have paid for an office day or a program and got an office day as a bonus. And they just keep it in their back pocket for, a point when maybe they're at a crossroads like that. That's typically when I recommend people do an office day, because if you're a high performer, high achiever, and you come to a crossroads, being paralyzed right there will probably cost you more than anything else, right? Like having 2 or 3 good decisions and having some paralysis analysis. If we can shorten that from 3 months of being paralyzed to a day, or if excuse my language, if shit hits the fan, I wouldn't do one just to do one necessarily.
I think the other thing to add to that, so we're starting our Seeking Certainty summits. Once you get to Seattle, we're gonna iron out a date, and the intention for that, and Darren, you probably have heard me say this before, but for other people who haven't, the intention of the quarterly summit is basically this idea that We have these frames that we should be applying on a day-to-day basis to process issues. We got the marketer frame. That's where we caution people not to just get stuck in the marketer frame. The marketer frame is we need more leads, we need better conversion. That's appropriate to consider that, but as we've shared today, there's more to business than that. Then there's the professional skeptic frame, which is how we uncover things like this workbook and these other strategies, which are asking the deeper questions about why things happen the way that they have. So maybe sales are up and we attribute it to ads, but when we look deeper, we go, you know what? I did that podcast a couple weeks ago and everyone actually listened to that podcast. And so the highest leverage lead gen thing for me is to do a podcast tour, not spend money on ads, because we've applied that sort of professional skeptic frame to dig deeper. So on a day-to-day basis, we need to use the marketing frame and the professional skeptic frame. On a quarterly basis, for businesses that we're actively involved in, or we're involved in the day-to-day operations, we want to use the investor frame quarterly. Investor frame is stepping back and asking the question, would I buy this business today? Based off what it's worth. So if you were to sell it and pocket $1 million, would you spend $1 million to buy the business? Most people end up saying no to that question when we ask them, hey, if you could cash out right now and get $1 million, would you spend that $1 million and buy this business? Why not? And usually what they say is it's basically a job. I'm working in the business every day. I basically built myself a job that has a ton of stress and I keep swinging for a lot of home runs. And I think there's some home run potential. I haven't gotten there yet. So no, I wouldn't spend $1 million to buy a job, which is important to then answer and go, well, what would need to change for you to be willing to spend the $1 million? And we then uncover the action plan. And the action plan sometimes is the things that you want to change cannot be changed because they're industry specific. For example, tax practice. The thing that you don't like is that there are tax deadlines. Those aren't going away. That's an industry specific thing. So if really that's making you miserable, you wouldn't buy the business, we probably need to look at exiting. But oftentimes there are business decisions that we've made, or we're injecting our own personal risk to the business. That's the cause for why we wouldn't buy it today. So we have to apply the investor frame to help unpack our action plan. We built a Seeking Certainty summit that's launching to basically serve as a trigger point for you to be applying the investor frame. So it's a reminder on a quarterly basis. And then we're bringing in experts like Dr. Jeff Spencer, who does, I think, a fabulous job of the understatement of the world in kicking things off, in getting us grounded into the right mindset. I mean, he's doing this for he's done this for 48 gold medalists, Tiger Woods, U2, so on and so forth. There's no one better, literally. And bringing other experts, we've had Chris Voss, we've had some Navy SEALs, we've had my personal coach.
Yeah.
So the intention is to bring them in and remind you, hey, on a quarterly basis, you need to apply the investor frame. And we have the resources to help you process that and figure out, what is it? Is it industry specific stuff? Is it business decision specific stuff? Or is it you? I always shared, I think, in our cash flow engineering course about how I'm not allowed to change things the first 2 weeks of January because I'm pissed off about the start of another year, getting engagement letters out, bonuses we started, which was a business decision, bonuses going out on the 15th, and people have earned them, but at the same point, I know I've got this amount of money, and here in a few days, I'm going to have substantially less. And so I'm just kind of agitated by it. So I'm not allowed to change things because chances are it's a function of me, not actually a relevant business decision. So we're trying to bring the experts to help you process those things.
I hear Pickles.
Yep. Pickles decided to come into the office, and I guess she wants to say hi to everyone. So let me see if I can grab Pickles. All right, this is Pickles.
There she is. Pickles
I'm the
wants
only,
everybody to join Diamond.
yeah, Pickles, when we're allowed, we'll bring Pickles to the summit. Pickles is a cobber dog, which is the pretentious kind of a Labradoodle. And I'm the only male in my house, so surrounded by girls, including Pickles and my daughters. Jackie says, "What's Pickles going to make of Jasper and Tundra?" I don't know. I'm kind of worried Jasper and Tundra might eat Pickles.
They love dogs. They love dogs and they love kids. They don't like little dogs. Pickles is like above the threshold, but for
What
some
is a
reason,
little dog for them? Pickles is
like
30 pounds.
less, no, like anything less than 10 pounds. I think it's a bunny rabbit.
Gotcha.
They like to chase bunnies and little dogs. Everything else, they're cool.
So Nick has two giant. If you don't know, Nick has two giant dogs that are 10% wolf or something like that.
Yeah, their mom is an Arctic wolf, and their dad is just like a dopey looking husky. So their mom was 125 pound Arctic wolf. She was terrifying.
Yeah, that does sound terrifying. So yeah, a 10-pound dog would just look like a snack to a.
Yeah. But they otherwise they do well. I'm watching here. Let me pull up one more time. Just because we kind of quick flashed it. I just saw 2 more people come into Diamond, so there's 6 spots. Any questions you have, you could shoot me a message. I'm happy to talk to you. Facebook, email. I never check my email, but Facebook. If you're watching this live, you can text me. If you have any questions about Diamond or otherwise, I'll make sure you get squared away. Any questions? We got 5 minutes, and we like to, if you've been on these, you know that we like to be as helpful as possible.
Brett says, "Thanks, gents." Yeah, you're welcome. Usually the questions come in at 11:59, so we'll hang out and for the next 5 minutes, and then there'll be 6 really solid questions. So that's how usually our Wednesday calls go as well. It takes a little bit of warm up time and somebody to go first.
Yep, somebody's got to break the seal. Tina had a question, said she'll bring it on Wednesday about being an affiliate for wealth acceleration stuff. So we'll talk about that Wednesday. If you purchased, if you're still on here and you purchased the replay and the workbook, you're going to have to wait a minute on the replay because we're still live. So don't harass me right now saying where's my replay, because we're filming it right now. If we're just recently coming into your world, which of all your trainings would you start with? I'll give my opinion, then Dan can give his. I think if you go to 7 steps, there are a few reasons. 7 steps to cash, there's an order bump that is double your cash flow and cut your risk in half. So it's $7 for 7 steps to cash. I think it's $37 for the order bump. So it's fairly low barrier there. But through those, that's where you're going to get the quickest wins. If you want to like jump in and get a return immediately without, really having to process some new stuff, I would go there. It also gives you an insight into from 7 steps and from double your cash flow. We basically took the most actionable things from all the different programs. So you can get a feel for, Dan will reference cash flow engineering, revenue multiplication, and all that stuff. And it may help you navigate the best next step for you. Oh, there's all those questions.
Yeah, that's good. I like the questions. How to use the W revenue strategy for a startup business where they don't have enough ideal clients?
Do you have
Yeah, go
any
ahead.
ideal clients? That's my first question is, do you have any ideal clients?
Yeah, no, good question. Yeah. They don't have enough ideal, but yeah, do they have any?
I work backwards.
Nope, they don't have any ideal clients. Okay. Well, that's, I guess, then the question, we'd go to diffusion of innovation. So that's a longstanding research that shows the way that people adopt new ideas. So I'd want to understand what their offer is. There's a good chance that the reason why they don't have any ideal clients is that their messaging, one, uh, their ideal clients don't have problem awareness. So they're not aware of the solution that you're selling. So maybe they don't have problem awareness. Two, they don't have awareness of you as the person or this company or whatever they sell as being able to provide the solution. So those could be issues. There could also be an issue of a mismatch in messaging. So they might be going after innovators or early adopters, but the messaging is specific or is to mass market. So what an innovator wants, and we talk about this extensively in revenue multiplication, what the innovator wants is much, much different than the mid-majority, late majority laggards. So they're looking for much different things. So oftentimes there is problem awareness and solution awareness, meaning what you're offering and what your startup client is offering would solve their problem, but the messaging is in misalignment. So you want to work with innovators, but you're providing more of a mass market type solution or language to it. So we got to line up all of those: problem awareness, solution awareness, and then we need to make sure our messaging actually aligns with who we're targeting relative to the diffusion of innovation curve. So that's sort of a lot in a couple of minutes. We can dig deeper into this in Q&A and on Wednesdays and office days is when we typically do a deep dive.
Question here. I'm a chiropractor and interested in the Diamond membership. Do you guys have any experience working with healthcare professionals? I'll let Dan answer that one because the short answer is most of the stuff I've done has been with healthcare professionals up until 3 years ago.
Yeah, we work with a lot of chiropractors already, a number of folks that are in other areas of healthcare. A significant number of people that we work with are healthcare providers who want to invest in real estate. So probably in total, somewhere around 20 to 30% of our client base is in the healthcare space, not necessarily just chiropractors, but other professionals that have businesses and are looking to pay the least amount, if not zero, in tax.
One of our Diamond members that's made perhaps the most progress consistently is Jackie, and she's a physiotherapist.
Yeah, I buried the lead with that one. But Jackie's here. She can comment on that, how we've worked with her. Nick, I mean, you're bearing the lead as well in terms of your background.
Yeah. Most up until about 2-3 years ago, when I really got into like full on B2B, most of my work was with doctors, PhD. The second business I built was with a PhD in metabolic chemistry. We work with a lot of physicians, and the case study is closely related, not necessarily the same. The case study where we did 100 sales in 24 hours was with a fitness professional, and you can use a lot of the same things fitness professional use in healthcare. I've had some chiropractors, but Jackie's a great resource. I think she's made significant progress and is a great implementer. So,
speaking of Jackie, she's got a question about how to work out my retention rate as I get clients returning 3 or 4 years after they first come to her. And she says probably one for Wednesday. Nick, any initial thoughts?
Yeah, I would probably good thing to work out on an office day, because using Dan's methodology, we could work through the whole thing, but I want to cut it in half as many times as possible. There may be a really quick way to sort this out. There may not. It just depends on what kind of data you have.
Jackie has a lot of data. I think somewhere around 10 years worth of data at this point.
Yeah.
So I can show you how to do that on Wednesday. You can show off some of your pivot table skills.
There we go.
Darren asks, how do you define great implementer? Jackie, that's my definition.
Yeah. Just every time we talk about something, we say, hey, do this thing. It might require some work and, it's going to take some time. She shows up every week and says, hey, I did that thing. Here's the results. What's next? Just every time, pretty much every week. It's, I did the work. Here's the results. What's next? Here's my question. Okay, did the work again. Here's my results. What's next? Consistently for months now, and it's just really cool to see people that consistently show up and do the work.
She totally reworked her business over the last 6 to 9 months, and she can share more of her story, which she has fairly publicly, but built up reserves, changed her pricing model, hedged a lot of downside risks that she had with contractors, rebuilt her retention strategy. I mean, there's a fairly substantial list of stuff. I think the key thing, though, is that she's just not implementing to implement. It's about what are the steps that she's taking to get closer to the things that she actually wants, which is more time with her family.
All right. I have to jump because I have a cardiologist appointment.
All right.
But any questions you have, Diamond or otherwise, let me know. And if you purchase the replay or anything we mentioned, you'll get the replay, the workbook, all that stuff by the end of the day today.
Cool. All right. Let me know on the cardiologist thing, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.